Some things never change. And Bama just continues to beat Georgia. It's the same thing that we saw with Tennessee and Georgia, a team that continuously, no matter what the circumstances are, they can't beat another program. And it's that specific program that they just can't get over the hump. Maybe you have the off chance of winning a national championship against that program, but consistently, year in and year out, if you were to face that program, they got your number. They know exactly how to beat you, regardless of if it's Nick Saban or Kalen DeBoer. Now, the first thing, I'm going to put my right hand up real quick. It's apology time. I questioned Alabama's character, their manhood, their competitiveness, everything across the board that you could deem potentially disrespectful. I probably said it about Alabama. And honestly, I don't want to do the revisionist history thing, because we could do that, right? Where I could say, maybe I was wrong and be very reactionary. But after that Florida State loss, I thought I was pretty justified in questioning that. Watching players jog on that football field, get out physicaled against a Florida State program that had just won, 2 games the year prior. You had projected one of the best offensive lines in the entire country, and you were consistently getting pushed around for 4 straight quarters. And Florida State was honestly better than what we expected. But at the end of the day, I thought questioning the competitiveness of this program was justified. Now, to be fair, there you can make the argument that maybe I was comparing it to the Nick Saban era of teams, but that's not where I was coming from. More to the lack of preparation, the lack of coming up to the moment, kind of waddling into a week 1 sleepwalking, to be honest, against a Florida State program that beat you down. So I still feel that the dynasty is not there, but this is an incredibly impactful win. Let's talk about some of the positives, right? Because we're at week 6 at this point, and they walked into Athens Stadium and beat Georgia. And we could talk about the fact that not only did they beat Georgia, not only did they get a monumental win for Kalen DeBoer, and in back-to-back years, whether it's at home or away, they beat Georgia. They were 4 for 4 in the red zone, 13 of 19 on third down on the road. And they didn't even run the ball that effectively. And I think that's one of the stories we have to talk about with Alabama, is Ryan Grubb's creative ability to have I'm trying to think of the best way to construct how I'm trying to say this, but a unique way of extending the rushing attack, what could be an extension of the running game. Because I think if you go watch that game, it was a masterclass by Ryan Grubb. And you would think a team to get 13 of 19 on third down in that road environment, they must have been averaging, 4+ yards per carry, dominating on the run. Short yardage was nothing for him. If they got to 3rd and 3, it was easy. But Ryan Grubb had a different perspective, or a different avenue of achieving this. Not only was it highly impressive to not have as many penalties, knowing Alabama's struggles on the road, knowing how Alabama's been undisciplined, that was impressive in of itself, but the ability to get a guy like Ty Simpson, who stepped up, a veteran quarterback who had stayed with this program for a very long time, to just make the easy passes. I think you could honestly make the argument that there's no defensive coordinator or defense in that country on that night that could have stopped Ty Simpson on third down, or let alone across the entire game. I know NFL GMs took note of it. I think a lot of people took note of Ryan Grubb and what he was being able to orchestrate to confuse this Georgia defense that we all know isn't going to be at the same level of 2022 and 2023 or any previous iterations of Kirby Smart's defenses. They're not as disciplined. We saw it on the last play that basically sealed the game, watching a player come over the top of an entire pile, completely unnecessary. This team is not as disciplined as previous Kirby Smart teams, and Ryan Grubb knew that. And when I say the extension of a running attack, what does that mean to you? What do you think of when I say that? People usually will tend to think, oh, it's just a screen pass here. It's just little things here and there. But truthfully, it's a little bit more than that. And when we're talking about being able to get a quarterback on the move, the quick passes, what would be a receiving yard could honestly be an if de facto rushing yard. That's what was so unique about Bama's offense, and it's what made it so effective. I mean, before I get to Georgia, Caden Proctor got a receiving yard here. Not only did he get a receiving yard, he got a couple. He got a first down. Caden Proctor, one of the biggest humans you've ever seen. I always say maybe he's like the Vince Wilfork of tackles. The dude's massive, and he cut down on that weight and got rewarded with a catch and a first down. I will say with Georgia, if I were awake from a coma and I knew this game was going to happen, and you told me right after, I didn't see the result of it, you said Georgia ran for 6.9 yards per carry, I would have said they won the game comfortably. I would have been able to believe that, sure, maybe it's not a blowout, but it was a win that they could comfortably control the clock, and for 4 quarters, when they needed to get a first down, they could. And honestly, the inverse happened because of how creative Grubb was being able to move around. I think, what was it? The toss play to, I'm going to be so mad at myself. It may have been a toss play to Bernard. Bernard ends up passing it to Horton for a first down. I mean, that it's like Ben Johnson type of stuff that we were watching. But the problem is the recipe for losing a home game like that, outside of probably one of the worst third down musics scenes that I've ever seen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it shouldn't be that hard to find. Go look on TikTok, Georgia third down. Apparently they were playing the same sound over and over and over. And when you have gone on third down 19 times, you've heard that sound 19 times and it didn't turn out well. Georgia fans have lost their mind on that. But Georgia lost the penalties, they lost the third down battle, and they lost the turnover battle. And it still was a close loss. I'm not one to say that you can get the moral victories because I want to give Bama all the credit in the world. Bama was number 1 in my preseason rankings. I feel justified in that, but I'm not going to take it and have a crazy pendulum swing of saying, yeah, Alabama's right there in the national title expectations, because we'll talk about tomorrow with Vanderbilt. I'm really worried for Alabama in that matchup. But for Georgia, I think you can honestly say with confidence and conviction that about 90% of the college football public, if you were to ask them going into the season, did you expect any team across the entire country to go undefeated? 90% of them probably say no. And who knows, maybe this was actually tasting your own blood and saying, we need to be better from this point forward. We have the best coach in the country. Sure, our defense maybe needs to tighten things up. There's little things that we can do. We clearly lost a dominant game from a third down perspective that could be an outlier for Alabama. And we only lost a close game, a couple plays here and there. We could have won it. Not a moral victories. I know Kirby Smart would probably throw up in his chair if he heard that. But I think no reason to write off Georgia based on this game, and no reason to write home about Alabama. I hate to be the boring guy that says don't have any brash takeaways from this, but I think this is more of a confirmation that Alabama can recover from Florida State. They look like 2 completely different programs from the Florida State game to this one. Credit to them. They're back on what I thought they could be. And for Georgia, they just can't get over the Alabama hump, and they just pray that maybe if they get to Georgia or Atlanta more specifically for the SEC title game, they better pray it's not Alabama they're facing. Maybe it's Texas A&M, even a Tennessee rematch. I think that there's a lot to be happy, even if it's a loss, if I'm a Georgia fan. But credit to Ryan Grubb, credit to Alabama, because now they're back on the trajectory that I was hoping them for the rest of the season. Now they have a very difficult path forward. They still have Oklahoma. They still have, I believe, South Carolina in October. If you don't know about South Carolina in October, I hate telling good people bad news. They have Vanderbilt this week and then Auburn at the end of the year, which who knows, probably Deuce Knight is playing in that. So congratulations to Alabama. I think that they're on the trajectory of potentially getting to a national title. We'll see what they look like in their October slate, because there's a lot of games that could be a little shaky. They haven't gotten the full confidence yet. I believe they are capable of stepping up to the moment. Are they capable of not dropping down to whoever they're facing? And for Georgia, I still think of them very highly. I still think that they're potentially a limited team, but a very good limited team.